After Hours continues now from Rogers Arena in Vancouver. Pleased to be joined now by the Big Tex, the Big Easy, the Big whatever. The big part of Tyler Myers' nickname is not in dispute, not at 6'8". So let's start with a tweet from Basic Witch, who says, in 2015, I asked you to ask Jacob Markstrom about his nickname Big Sexy. Apparently, Myers says he is also named Big Sexy. There can only be one. How do they plan to sort this out?
Well, I haven't been here that long. Guys haven't really figured out that that's what I was called in Winnipeg. So, whatever nickname you want to call me, I'm fine with.
All right. For someone of your height, your skating is, and Louis, you finish the sentence.
Well, it's incredible. You know, you and I have talked about this, Tyler. I don't think there's anybody in the history of the game at your height that skates as well as you do. And, you talked about something you really worked on when you were younger. You had some growing spurts, you said, that kind of interrupted a bit, but you've always kind of felt comfortable on the skates.
Yeah, like we talked about before, it's something I always worked on from a young age. I can't really explain, the anomaly of being 6'8" and being able to skate like that. So it's something that I've always worked on and I continue to work on, especially with the way the game's changing. It's only getting faster. You got these little guys buzzing around, so they're tough to chase sometimes. But it's just a matter of constantly working on it, especially at my height. And, going forward, I'm sure I'll continue to work on it.
So, Tyler, you're known as the Big Tex, one of your nicknames, because you're from Houston. You came north with your father at the age of 10. I assume he came here to work in the oil industry?
Yeah, oil and gas. Yeah.
So how intense was hockey for you in Calgary versus what you had gone through in Houston?
It was a culture shock. 3 million people in Houston where we lived. There were 2 teams and 3 million people at my age. And I moved to Calgary when I was 10. And there were 13 teams just in the one community that we lived in of 1 million people. So, it was a bit of a culture shock, but as a kid that, loved hockey, it was awesome for me, 10-year-old. You see how big hockey is in Canada. And it was a dream come true for me.
As a dual citizen, you had your choice between the Canadian and American national teams. You chose Canada, which in part paid off for you with World Junior Gold in 2009, but why Canada?
I had to make the choice for the U18s, and it just came down to, I don't think if we had moved to Canada, I don't think I'd be where I am today. I owe a lot to that move, and like I said before, the passion for hockey in Canada is, it's pretty special, and a lot of where I was as a player and how I got there, ultimately, had me decide to join Team Canada.
So from Calgary, 3 very impressive seasons with the Kelowna Rockets of the Western League. Impressive enough that the Buffalo Sabres made you a first-round draft pick. As you were making your mark in hockey back in Houston, your brother Quentin Grimes was making his in basketball. So tell us about Quentin and your relationship with him.
It's good. I've really been following him the last couple of years. He lives down in Texas. We share the same mom, and he lives down there with her, and we keep in touch as much as we can, and I try and keep up with how he's doing with in the basketball world. It's fun to watch. He was at Kansas last year. He made the transfer to University of Houston for this year to be close to home. And he's
redshirted, right?
I don't think so.
Oh. Did he appeal that?
I'm not sure, but I don't think he has to redshirt. There's some rule where he's close to home where I think he'll be able to play, but don't quote me on that.
Yeah, you're a better basketball player than he is hockey player. I'm guessing that, right?
I would think so, yeah.
He's expected to be as accomplished in basketball perhaps as you have been in hockey. You mentioned the Kansas Jayhawks. Chose Kansas over, I think, 11 other schools, including Marquette in Texas. Now he's at Houston. Do you expect that you will become the first brother combination, one to play in the NHL and the other to play in the NBA?
I hope so. That's what I'm hoping for him when he decides to make that jump to the draft. I hope all the success for him, and if we end up being the first brothers to do that, I think it'd be pretty cool.
Tweet from Brett. Given your height and clear athleticism, along with the fact that your brother was a star at Kansas, and he thought that you had of pursuing a basketball career when you were younger.
I played just about every sport growing up, and then, as I got a little older, the schedule became more demanding for hockey, and hockey was just always my number one. And as soon as I wasn't able to make the schedules work, hockey just kind of took over.
All right, you're forever linked to Winnipeg, your last team, for a reason that goes far beyond hockey. It's got to do with family, and yours and Michaela's firstborn, and to this point, only child, Tristan. So, January 5, 2017, the Jets were in Florida, and you get a frightening phone call. Take the story from there.
Yeah, the phone call at that point was just, I got to get home. We're having the baby. So, I didn't really know what was going on too much. I think I was on a plane within 55 minutes. I was lucky the airport was a little empty. And then we had a bit of a rough start.
Born 5 weeks early, right?
5 weeks early, yep. He had, some complications at birth. And then, but where he is now is coming up on 3 years.
Looking pretty good there.
Yeah.
Working the pipes a little bit, eh?
He's doing well, so we're very happy with where he's at.
And the first night that you and Michaela left him alone at the hospital, what happened?
That was tough. First night we left him at home, it's all blending together. We got called back in that first night. That was our bad night. That one's tough to revisit.
Yeah.
So that was a tough night. Little guy was a fighter. He pulled through, and from there he only got stronger and stronger. And I think it was about 4 weeks later he was able to come home. So he did a lot of fighting, and forever grateful.
Well, look at him now. He'll be 3 in January. He is a beautiful, healthy boy, and you've used the word fighter a couple of times here.
Yes, he put up a big fight early on, and now he's just loving life.
So, family good, you're free to focus on hockey, and here you were getting ready for this season at your off-season home in Kelowna. You're 29 now, which used to be young in the NHL, but 29 these days puts you closer to the end of your career than the start. So, at that senior citizen's age, how do you stay in peak shape?
You got to do a lot. Body goes through a lot, especially after 10 years in the league. So I train with a guy in Kelowna. His name's Adam Francilia. We focus a lot on keeping the core happy. That midsection takes a lot of wear and tear skating on the ice, as many guys will tell you. So we focus a lot on that, keeping that happy, and luckily the last couple of years have been pretty good.
So biometrics, let's address that. That's allowed you to stay in superior skating shape, and I always think that if Louis had paid more attention to biometrics, he would have had a better career. But
I love this stuff.
What's
I
going
do.
on?
I really like this because it just makes you really have to, engage all the muscles, the support muscles, like you said, the core. When you're doing that, that's got to be tough.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff with the band is, you're working on to see if there's any. If you're leaning one way or the other for your mechanics to see if you have to address something more in the gym. And then a lot of the stuff with the band is just conditioning, trying to get your conditioning up for the year. And, we focus a lot to see if there's any if I'm compensating one side to the other. And if I am, we focus a lot on that in the gym.
Looking good so far, Tyler. I want to thank you for your time.
Thanks a lot for having me, guys.
All right, there's Tyler Myers, one of the Canucks off-season's additions who has helped change the mindset around this team. He was our guest on After Hours. Back to conclude things at Rogers Arena in a moment.